Kelti and the treasure chest. Kelti had enjoyed a good day at school, although it had not started well because her spelling test was not one of her best. She had not studied the word list this week, and so she did not do well in her test at all. But she didn't worry too much about this, as there were some words she would never use, or so she thought. The night before, Kelti's daddy had tried to encourage her to learn the spellings, but she had wanted to play with her baby brother Louis instead. "I won't ever use most of these words, Daddy," Kelti told him, "so don't worry about them." "You never know when a word will be useful, Kelti. Your spelling homework is set for a reason," her daddy said, sounding very concerned. "It is a very important part of your education. Your test is tomorrow, so let's go over them one last time." But Kelti had not listened to her daddy, and today at school she wished she had. She didn't like being at the bottom of her class with tests. But that had been first thing in the morning, and by the end of the day she had forgotten all about it because the rest of the day had been very enjoyable. Arriving home after school, her mummy gave her a snack of some biscuits and a glass of milk. "Why don't you go and play outside, Kelti, while Louis goes down for a nap? It's such a beautiful afternoon, and I'm sure Dougie will love to play with you." Kelti finished her snack and then grabbed her jacket before running into the garden with Dougie following behind. "Come on, Dougie, let's go into the forest. I'll race you." And she ran as fast as she could across the lawn and into the forest, with Dougie yapping at her heels. Once in the forest, Kelti headed straight for the big oak tree. When she reached it, she sat down beside it to catch her breath. Dougie came up beside her and then walked around the oak tree, sniffing as he went. Kelti waited for him to come around to her from the other side of the oak tree, but he didn't appear. She wondered what had happened to him, so she stood up and walked behind the oak tree to take a look. There, to her surprise, was Dougie sitting beside a tiny door in the trunk of the oak tree. "That door wasn't there before," Kelti thought to herself. "I'm sure I would have noticed it if it was." Kelti looked at the door for a second and then couldn't resist taking a look inside. She grabbed the tiny handle and opened the door very slowly. As she stepped forward into the doorway, a light suddenly turned on. She peered in and saw some wooden steps leading down into what looked like a cellar. "Come on, Dougie, let's go inside and find out what's at the bottom of these steps." She started to go down the steps and then heard Dougie whimpering behind her. "What's wrong, boy? Come on." But Dougie stayed at the top of the steps. "Are you scared?" she asked him. "It does look scary down there, but I'm sure it will be okay." "I know. I'll put you in the secret pocket in my jacket to keep you safe." Kelti went back up the steps, picked Dougie up and placed him into the secret pocket in her jacket. He nestled in and closed his eyes. With Dougie now safe, Kelti started down the steps again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, she counted. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nearly there. 11, 12 and 13. "That's my mummy's lucky number," she said. "Something special is going to happen." Looking around her, she noticed that the tree cellar was round, just like the oak tree, and the walls were covered with green moss, which looked so soft and pretty. In the middle of the room was a large treasure chest. It was made from wood with an ornate curved lid which had a huge padlock on it, keeping it shut. Kelti walked over to the treasure chest and grabbed the padlock. It was as big as her hand and quite heavy. She pulled on it and wiggled it, but it did not come undone. Dougie peered out of her jacket pocket, wondering what the noise was. "How am I going to open this, Dougie?" Kelti asked. "It needs a giant key and I can't see one anywhere." Dougie jumped out of her jacket and ran over to the wall behind her and started barking. Looking round, Kelti could see a giant key hanging on a chain. She went over and grabbed the key with both hands. She pulled it and tugged it, but the chain just rattled and the key stayed where it was. Oh, look, Dougie, the chain is closed by a combination lock which needs 3 numbers for it to open. I wonder what they are. Looking around the tree cellar, she saw a large red button on the wall with a sign below it which read, "Press me." Kelti moved nearer to the button and very carefully pressed it.
"Hello, Kelti,"
said a deep, loud voice.
"I am the teacher of the oak tree. To get the key to the treasure chest, you must answer 3 questions correctly. Are you ready?"
Kelti looked down at Dougie, feeling a little nervous but very excited. She really wanted to get the questions right so she could look inside the treasure chest. Taking a deep breath, she replied, "I'm ready,"
"Right,"
said the teacher of the oak tree.
"Here is your first question. How do you spell the word marble?"
Oh, wow, thought Kelti. This was one of the words in my spelling test today. I know this answer. And she said, M-A-R-B-L-E.
"Correct,"
said the teacher of the oak tree.
"Now, how do you spell the word tomorrow?"
Now this one is a little tricky, Kelti thought to herself. I spelt this word wrong today in my test. Okay, here goes. And she said, T-O-M-O-R-O-W.
"Wrong,"
said the teacher of the oak tree.
"Try again."
Kelti thought about it and then said, T-O-M-O-R-R-O-W.
"Correct."
responded the teacher of the oak tree.
Now, if you get this last spelling correct, I will give you the combination number for the key to the treasure chest. Are you ready?
Yes, Kelti said a little hesitantly as she knew it was going to be a difficult word.
How do you spell the word Sphinx?
Oh no, thought Kelti. This one is really hard. I never get it right. After some thought, she said, S-F-I-N-K-S.
Wrong. Try again.
Boomed the teacher of the oak tree. Kelti felt disappointed. I wish I'd listened to my daddy and learnt my spellings properly. Kelti thought about the word again and then said, S-F-I-N-X.
Wrong again.
She heard the teacher of the oak tree reply.
You have one more try. If you get it wrong this time, the key to the treasure chest will disappear.
Kelti really started to worry now. She wanted the treasure from the treasure box more than anything. So she sat down on the ground and thought really hard about all the things her teacher at school had taught her about how to spell strange sounding words. Sphinx, 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 she said out loud. There's a strange sounding letter after the S. It sounds like an F, but there is something else that sounds like an F. If only I could remember what it is. Holding her head in her hands, she tried really hard to think what it could be, when suddenly she heard a clock ticking.
Your time is nearly up,
said the teacher of the oak tree.
You have 1 minute left.
Oh dear, Kelti thought. What did my teacher tell us? I must remember. With the minutes nearly over, she suddenly jumped up and shouted, I've remembered! I know how to spell the word Sphinx. S-P-H-I-N-X.
Correct, Kelti,
said the teacher of the oak tree.
You have done extremely well. Keep learning your spellings, as you never know when you will need them.
I promise I will, Kelti said,
Good.
replied the teacher of the oak tree.
Now, the combination number is 913. Enjoy the treasure. Goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye. Excitedly, Kelti grabbed the combination lock and twisted the numbers to their correct positions. The lock undone, allowing the key to fall from the chain. Using both her hands and all her strength, Kelti picked up the key and took it over to the treasure chest. Placing the key into the padlock, she turned the key, and after it popped open, she removed it from the treasure chest. Dougie was sitting beside her watching, and turning to him, she said, "Are you ready to see the amazing treasure inside, Dougie?" Barking at her in response, Kelti said, "Okay, here goes." And slowly she lifted the huge lid of the treasure chest and peered inside. She stared in with disbelief, as all she could see were cobwebs. "Cobwebs," she said. "Is that all I get for my hard work?" Dougie jumped up and placed his paws on the edge of the box so he could see inside. Kelti felt very sad and very disappointed as she turned away from the treasure chest. Suddenly, Dougie started barking. "What is it, boy?" Kelti asked, going back over to the treasure chest to see what he was barking at. "What can you see?" Looking in, all she saw were the cobwebs. Then suddenly she saw a tiny sparkle right in the corner of the treasure chest underneath the cobwebs. Carefully, Kelti moved the cobweb with her fingers, and the sparkle grew bigger. Eventually, Kelti could see just what was sparkling. It was a giant gold coin. Taking it out of the treasure chest, Kelti held it up to the light. "Wow, Dougie, how amazing is this? A real piece of treasure. I am so lucky." As she was looking at her new piece of treasure, the light in the tree cellar started to flicker. "Come on, Dougie, we have to go. Mummy will be wondering where we are." She put the gold coin into her secret pocket and started to climb the steps out of the tree cellar, with Dougie close behind her. "Thank you, big oak tree. You are so magical," she said, reaching the door at the top of the steps. Closing the door behind them, she shouted to Dougie, "Come on, boy, I'll race you home." Arriving back in her garden, Kelti caught her breath as she walked across the lawn. "I am going to learn my spellings every week and be top of my class," she said to Dougie. Opening the back door, she saw her daddy sitting at the kitchen table playing with her baby brother Louis. Running up to him, she gave him a giant hug and said, "You are the best daddy in the world, and from now on, I will do all my homework without complaining."